what's new? What's going to be different apart from finishing off? What's going to be due? What new policies there for the next term?
Well, the 5 policies I had are sort of perpetual policies. You know, stopping wasting money, something that can go on forever. And the CCO, taking back the CCOs, I've still, after 3 years, haven't quite got my hands on Auckland Transport. And that was the one that I was most interested in from the start. And it's also the one in which I've got the most experience. I mean, I've had a life designing and building and owning roads, and so I'm really keen to make that big change, and that'll take that's a big concentration. We're already thinking about what I'm going to do straight after, in the event that I become the mayor again. I want to have a look at just to closely examine all the standards that they use, because we just waste space. And the roads are expensive, so you don't want to use up. If you have a look at outside here, you'll find that there's a curb there, and there's a half metre and a white line, and there's a bit more width, and you think if you clean all that up, you can get another lane in there. And that's the sort of thinking that's missing. So that's at that level. In terms of the other level, the country's in a bit of a doldrums at the moment, and Auckland should be leading the country out of this, and we have the chance to do that. And one of the things I'm quite proud of is stepping in and providing leadership for the Auckland Tech Alliance. And whilst I'm not a technology person, I do understand the merits and the financial applications from that technology. And I'd like to see us lead the economy rather than struggle on. I can't think of any great fresh ideas that are coming out of Wellington to save it. So I want to do that too. That's another part of it.
Right. Okay.
And there'll be a lot more brownies pools around the harbour.
Right. Okay. Okay. You are 79 now, and you've had obviously been a very successful businessman. You don't need to be mayor anymore. So why do it?
Well, it's kind of like when I got to be the first time, people said, "Why are you doing that?" And I thought, I looked at Auckland and thought, it's not doing as well as it should. And of the other people who are putting their names forward, none of them have ever done anything as big as what this is. And I thought if I didn't do it, I'd look back and I'd have regrets saying, why didn't you do it at the time? And if the people didn't want me, that was okay. But I sense that they probably do, because I'm about fixing the things that Auckland isn't actually achieving. And so that's what it is. I mean, I've seen most of the world. I don't really need more. I don't play golf. And I look around, a lot of people are retired. I mean, Winston Peters is carrying on because he said, what does he want to do? Go into Ryman Healthcare and play cards in the afternoon? And in terms of the age thing, the politician who's rampantly changing the world, not necessarily for the better, is older than I am, so yeah. Winston's older than I am. I don't feel there's an issue there.
Yeah, no, fair enough. It looks like everything's sort of trending towards like being a even lower turnout for this election than it's still a couple of weeks to go yet, but for other local body elections in Auckland. Does it concern you, or does it worry you about the state of democracy, or anything that so few people are likely to vote in this election?
Well, I don't really know whether they are or they're not. They might rush in at the end for all I know. But local bodies never have the same level as a thing. A government election is for people who pay taxes. So everyone spends some money on the government. They've got a connection. The local government is about a contractual relationship between the organisation and the people who pay rates. And there's a lot of people who don't pay rates. So they don't actually have a bill from the council. They don't kind of see it that way. Indirectly, they're most likely paying rates because they're renting somewhere or other, but they don't have a direct connection. And so when you look at the numbers, the people who pay rates mostly vote. People who don't pay rates mostly don't. And so if you look at it from that point of view, it's not that low after all.
Okay, all right. Just a couple of things about sort of things that come up during this election area is, with Karen Leone, is that the Huapai train line. Are you in favour of that?
Well, some of the things have been raised by a number of candidates are about popping in new rail lines here for us. Actually, council don't build rail lines. That's Kiwi Rail. And are we in favour? I'm in favour of more freight going on rail, but for more of that to happen, probably before that happens, we need to do the last 20 kilometres out towards Northport up north, because the rail freight from there down to Auckland is perfectly good, and trains come down every day from north of Whangarei with Fonterra's milk on board. And it's the only port in the Pacific not connected to the rail. It's only 20 kilometres. Once that comes through, that'll change a lot of things, and that'll bring forward the reason for Kiwi Rail to do those things. Rail is basically a freight product. In the cities, we've just spent a lot of money to get people onto the trains. But if you ask the people at Kiwi Rail, their income comes from freight, to be quite honest. So you can make statements about things, but it's not within the ambit of the council to do that anyhow. Would I like to have more people catching trains? I'd like to have more people catching public transport, to be quite honest, in whatever form that takes, which is one of the things I'm quite keen that after the changes to AT, they will be concentrating on public transport. They don't do too bad at that, actually. If they really concentrate on it, be good at it. It's everything else they do that they don't do well.
So is that a similar view for like Avondale to Southland, and also a link to the airport? Similar views to that, you think?
I think we find it very hard to find the economics of it. Everything I say is, how much is it worth building this bridge or building that road? What is the advantage from it? And work back to get how much money can you spend on that, and then is that enough money to do that thing? At the moment, getting to the airport, the public transport to the airport by buses and things is quite cheap actually, and quite quick. Will the costs of going for that Puanui to the airport train, the capital costs, would that be in line with the amount of money that you're going to save by having the people doing that last leg? You get the train out of Puanui and there's buses go all the time to the airport. It sort of looks good, but I'd be surprised if it actually makes economic sense. And similarly, the Avondale to Southland needs to be preserved. That will absolutely be essential when in the future most of our goods come from Port of Tauranga and the Port Northport, and we turn that into something better value for the land that it's got. But until that happens, it would just be a money loser.
Okay, fair enough. One other thing that sort of local areas is I'm talking to people there is Avondale racecourse, and about that, and the people that are concerned about what might happen to that.
Oh well, I went out there on Friday, and with Ross Clow as the local board member out there, and he'd worked out that apparently a long time ago, his team Suburbs and my team Te Pava had actually played each other out there, because most of the games we played are at Eden Park, but I do remember playing that game, and he was on the other side. So we got our respective club jerseys on. I fitted mine a bit better than he fitted his from the days gone by. But we were celebrating the fact that land is going to be more intensively used, but a big chunk of it will remain as sports fields. And that was the highlight of that. I think it's very depressing. Have you been out to the Avondale racecourse?
Yeah, I live right near it, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a lovely big piece of land. But if you look at the grandstand, it looks terrible. You know, it looks like it's an abandoned city. And it's what a wonderful opportunity. And I think at least a quarter of it, if not more, will remain as sports paddocks. And will be intensification with gaps in there to make it more park-like and everything. But it's a great place for people to live. It's connected. And Mayoralty, who are really good developers, they're in those sorts of places because that's where people want to live.
Would you think the council could have, or yourself could have some control over the green spaces there? Rather than
I think that's what we're talking about with Ross Clow and those guys right now. The land is actually owned by the New Zealand Thoroughbred Racing, and they're wanting to gift a whole lot of it to the council for sports, and I'm delighted to receive those.
Okay. As a general election as well next year, if Labour win, can you work with them? Can you have a good relationship with them, do you think?
I've already worked with Labor and with National, if you recall.
Mm.
Labor was in when I became the mayor and then National came in. I'm kind of not a member of either Labor Party or National Party. And I think they're both centrist parties, and I'm a centrist person. And I'd be quite happy to work with either of them. Whoever has the best policies for Auckland is the party that I wish to work with. I think the National are doing some good things for Auckland. Labor did some good things for Auckland, so we'll see how we go.
So I don't know if it's do you think you've surprised people, or I don't know about, like, you are. I think when you won, people think you're going to be more sort of leaning to the right quite a bit more than you are.
Well, I'm economically quite conservative, and I'm socially quite liberal, and so that puts you back into the middle somehow or other. But economically, I'm very conservative. You know, I don't like to see money wasted. I think Labor have probably would have done a lot better to have been more economically conservative. I think National would have done better, a bit more socially liberal, and so it's easy for me to work either way. And it was an important thing of me not to allow blue and red teams to form at the council, because they tend to just always vote against each other, even if it's a sensible thing to do. And so when I get my groups, you've seen the people who vote with me, there's always a couple from Labor and a couple from National, and there's always a couple from Labor and a couple of National who votes against it. So as far as the government elections, the ones that offer the most for Aucklanders, who Aucklanders should vote for.
The bed night levy, I heard you say again.
I haven't got it yet, but...
No, I mean, you say it's definitely going to happen, but they keep saying it's definitely not this term. What gives you that conviction?
Well, if they're saying it's not this term, maybe they might not have another term.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that Labor would put it in straight away. Winston Peters' team are quite happy about it. National are not unhappy about it, but ACT don't like it at all. And I think that no one's actually seen deeply into the arrangement between the three parties, but from what everyone sees from the outside, maybe National gave away too much at that when they settled up that. I've never read it, but I'm just looking at the behaviours.
Do you think you need to come out and endorse Labor at the next election if they're going to do it, or do you think if National say they would do it at the next election?
No, I'm neither going to endorse Labor. I won't endorse either of them, any of the parties next time. But I'm quite happy with National, and I'm quite reasonably happy with Labor, and I'm quite happy with Winston Peters. Is a very centrist party. His party. I'm not too sure. I think ACT and Party Maori are quite extremists. And in my experience in life is the answers are always in the middle somewhere. And when I get votes at the council, it's usually the people near the middle that come across first. And I like the fact that my deputy mayor is a very strong supporter of National, and strong councillors like Richard Hills is a very supportive of Labor guy, and they all get on quite well together, and I think that's a good thing.
So, you're definitely going to see out the 3-year term if you get back in?
Well, unless they make me the Pope, or in the meantime, I haven't got any plans on that. But
okay.
At this stage here, 3 years is okay.
Right. There was a theory, completely of no substance at all, that you do a couple of years and then step aside and let Desley run it for them to help.
Well, that's not. I haven't ruled that out, but I haven't ruled. But at the moment, I really want to get. Next year's a really important year for Auckland. There's some great things, important things that happen, which will have a big impact on the country. We'll finish at long last. The International Convention Centre will finish, and from what I'm told, it's quite heavily booked, which is a good thing. And at long last, the City Rail Link will open to the public. It's actually working in a training suggestion, so that all the work's done, but it will open. Those are two big transformative things for Auckland, and positive. And the streets will clean up all that dreadful endless construction with both of those projects will finish, and we will be underway with the changes of Auckland transport, and most of those will be aimed at just speeding up the traffic without spending a lot of money, not wasting space on the street with unnecessary tar seal that's never used, and a lot more IT onto the signalling systems. Our signalling systems are infuriating. You sit there and at a red light and there's nobody else using the intersection, and you think, how did that possibly happen? And it happens because we haven't put any of the quite cheap and simple tech onto our intersections that other countries have been done years ago. So those are exciting things. Get those done, and then we'll think about other bits and pieces. But I think it'll lift the whole country's feeling about itself, I think.
Yeah, right. Every time we go back,
it's just a third of the country after all.
Yeah. Sorry to go back onto this point, but you mentioned about you haven't ruled it out. I mean, have you spoken to Desley about not doing the 3 years, or her taking it?
No. It's not even been a conversation. I think you're the first person I've ever even had that thought with.
All right.
But I think Desley would make a good follow-on mayor.
Well, but I mean, one of the other things that you've been sort of talking about a lot, and you talk about the lack of speed, and I've just seen one go up in Tiverton Road, is the dynamic lanes. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of them come through.
It's so frustrating. Get on with it. They work so well. You know, the one out at Whangaparāoa works well. And all it is a light, and the people don't kill each other. They can see whether it's red or green. And we went to the opening of the new Reeves Road flyover on Friday, which is kind of good, and they said it's finished on time and under budget, and then I walk up there on top of it, and it's 3 metres wider than it needed to have been, because there's half a metre there's a curb there's half a metre and there's a white line. Well, you know, that didn't need to be there. And in the middle there's 2 metres of flat white concrete, and on either end of that people are coming forwards and opposite each other with just dots of white on the road, and they don't plough to each other. And bridges are expensive. And so they said, we saved a bit of money the way we did it. And I said, well, you could have saved a lot more if you made it narrower. And it's the same with the motorway north, which is a council. The government put motorways in my city, but they're actually council roads. But the holiday highway from Puhoi to Warkworth, they spent enough money on that. They could have done 4 lanes all the way to Whangaparāoa if they hadn't been so overly, excessively expensive for what they did. People, if you want to make things safer, you make the roads narrower, not wider, and that slows people down. If you go on the Harbour Bridge, the middle lanes are only 2.9 wide, and there's very few accidents because you're in there, you actually concentrate, don't you? You think, I better be careful here. And then the outer ones, they're about 1 metre wider, and you think, that's pretty cool here, so we can look at the view. And they plough into each other in great numbers on the outside ones, and so it's counterintuitive. And so making them wider doesn't make them safer, actually. It makes them, encourages people to stare at views.
Just a couple more now. You mentioned the bridge. I mean, there was a story with Simon, I think, Simon Wilson, where you said you didn't know what was going on with the tunnel, and then they've spoken to Chris Bishop, and he said they are informed. So I just wondered...
We're actually not informed. Yeah. He's told me that they are drilling some holes in the harbour. We don't know who. We don't know who the designers are. We don't know... I've never met... We don't even know... Luke, who's my traffic, has been trying to find where the office is that they're running this project for. We don't even know where that is. And as far as the drilling goes in the harbour, the chairman of the NZTA is a mate of mine. Simon Bridges is a good family friend with his wife, and mine are friends as well. And he's saying, we are drilling these things, but it's not going to happen, you know. It's just sort of looking like something, and you think, that's ridiculous. Don't waste money. And it's not in the right place, it's for every wrong reason for it. The local MP over there thinks it's a good idea because he's a local MP over there. And then you hear his other things, we should drill a tunnel because we've got an Italian tunnel company. We don't build roads to keep rich people from Italy rich still. and we do them so that New Zealanders can use them, and we open up new areas, and we reduce pressure on the existing bridge by offering an alternative, and an alternative which is close to the northwestern motorway. Anyone from the northwestern motorway wants to get over the other side has to fight their way through the middle of the city to get there. It makes no sense at all. And we found a report from 1967, I think it was, something or other like that there, that shows a picture, and it shows the next bridge was going across Mayoral Reef. So we're getting dumber as we get older, not cleverer.
Do you hope, if the government said the decision will be made next year, do you hope you have if you're still mayor, have a seat at the table when that discussion and decision is made?
Well, they'll be reading a lot about it on stuff and in the Herald if they don't let me be there. I do know about this stuff. You know, I mean, I don't expect to be at the table for any discussions about the Wearable Art Awards or major artistic and that sort of field. I'd send Desley along, she's very well informed in that field. But no, in terms of that, I expect fully to be. We are going to have a 30-year transport plan, and it won't be based on who gets elected anywhere. It'll be based on where are the people living, where is the freight going, where are the problems now, where are the new areas we want to up to. It'll be completely boringly logical.
Fair enough. And I just wanted to ask you for this, but one other question is, I think the government announcing later today about new earthquake laws. I remember you...
I'm chuffed about that.
Yeah, I remember you saying about it in Town Hall last week. So
I've been saying about it for 3 years.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that if ever there was a reason for wasting money, it's forcing, not just pushing up the price of building to meet Wellington-based codes that don't have any application here, but even more so, we've got a lot of lovely old buildings that are becoming uneconomic because you're having to put several $1 million worth of seismic stuff into a building, which is to prevent it, to save it from something that's not going to happen. And most of all, I'm very depressed about the pressure it is on small owners of apartments in the city who are under enough financial pressure due to the fact that interest rates have shot up in the last few years. They can't hardly pay their mortgages off as it is, and they're being forced to find another $200,000 to make the building earthquake proof when it's not facing an earthquake. And we're causing a lot of deep distress to residents of Auckland for a rule that doesn't need to be there. I'm delighted with what they're doing. It's good sign of they are listening. The government is listening, and it's not easy for governments to listen. You've got to understand that they all go to Wellington. They're surrounded by people giving them flash cars and lunches and everything like that, and Powhatan, and they've got to listen to some grumpy old guy from up here who does actually know about this stuff, and they are. So I feel good about that. That's a win. Right. That's a definite win.
Is this something you've been talking to the government about for the last few years? About
I've been actively, really, and I've got to give Mr. Pink a pat on the back. He's listened to me, and again, he goes back to Wellington where they're all, they're all zealots about earthquakes down there, and he has to say, "But hang on, Auckland has volcanoes." And I mean, we're not preparing Wellington for volcanoes, so why are we preparing Auckland for earthquakes? It makes no sense at all. And so I think that's a really good thing.